comes out with the watch white as a ghost. He did not want to tell us what he was about to say about this watch. So I picked up a new Audemars Piguet Royal Oak yesterday, and I almost got caught in a scam with a fake watch. And so I'm going to tell you the story as we walk around Dubai here. I'm not sure if you can see the surroundings. You can't quite see the Burj Khalifa back there, but you're going to want to see this if you ever are considering buying a watch in the gray market, it's called. So basically, if you're not into watches, anything that doesn't come from an authorized dealer is considered the gray market or the secondary market, just basically used watches. And the reason you got to be familiar with that is because if you want a decent watch, unless you've got they call it a purchase history of a long time, you're not going to get the good pieces. It's actually kind of ridiculous. Like if you go into a place like AP or even Rolex and you want to get a Daytona or something like that, a piece that people want, what they try to get you to do is buy the pieces that nobody wants so they can make some money off you. Then they'll give you the good pieces. And usually, unless you're buying a bunch of watches, or I know some guys who have companies and so they gift these watches that they have to buy that they don't really want to their employees, then maybe it makes sense. But for the most part, unless you're buying a ton of watches, it's tough, especially now with watches kind of blowing up like they are. Everybody's trying to get in and establish a purchase history because they want these good pieces. So anyway, so I've been looking at this. It's actually this watch right here. You can see rose gold on a ginger man, fair complected skin like mine. The yellow gold's a little bit harsh. The rose gold's a good look. So I've been looking at this watch for, I don't know, maybe looking for a month and a half. And all of a sudden, one of the guys contacts me who'd been looking for me. And he's like, hey, I got a guy who's looking to move this quick. What are you doing tonight? Can you come see it? And the interesting thing about the watch business, you see the Burj Khalifa in the back a little bit more. This is actually a cool kind of center hub. This is the park downtown Dubai. It's quite beautiful. I spend quite a bit of time out here actually now. The thing about watches is it's almost like a currency, because you can go to any city and basically sell a luxury watch in a couple hours, right? You're going to take a hit on the spread, but you can get money for that. And so sometimes people are hard up and they need money and they got to move the watch quick. But typically anytime someone's trying to put you in a rush, it's a bad sign, right? It means they don't want you to do their diligence. And so I'm like, all right, I'll check it out though, because it's a tight-knit community and people know people. And so the guy who referred me to this guy was trustworthy. So, I figured, all right. And so I go see the watch. Looks great. No telltale signs that anything's wrong with it. And so he's like, we got to get this deal done tonight. And I was like, all right, well, I'll put a deposit down on it and then get the rest of the cash and give it to you in a couple days. And I'll just call you and let you know where I want to meet. We're both kind of downtown in the same area. He's like, yeah, okay, cool. And so I decide, I always want to have the watches looked at by an independent third party who can validate them, because these fakes, I'm sure as you've heard nowadays, they're unbelievable. And these expensive watches, they're able to put a lot of money into these fakes. Let's say the watch is selling for $100,000. Well, they could spend 25, 30 grand on a really good fake with the same materials and everything like that. So you really got to be careful. I always insist on having a third party validate the watch. And so anyway, I got a guy here in Dubai who's like a mad scientist of watches, and he has these cameras that are zoom in like you've never seen before. I think you can see the atoms of the watch. And he also has a guy who used to work at AP, and so he just knows what to look for. Really talented guy. And it's not cheap, but when they authenticate a watch, 100% that it's real. And when I say real, I'm not just talking about, it's real or not, because there's different parts of the watch now that people will swap out to make 10 grand. So say maybe the watch is 100 grand. Well, then they can swap out a certain part of the movement that's hard to validate or authenticate. They'll do that and they make 10 grand. And then, they do that a couple times a month and they make some real dough. I actually heard a story. I'm not sure if you've heard of the Patek Philippe 5711. It's kind of a classic sports watch. That's a cool background. This is actually a site here on the bridge that you see at night, hundreds of people taking engagement pictures and stuff like that. It's a cool angle of the Burj Khalifa. Anyway, so even with authentic pieces, so this 5711 comes usually the steel version with a blue dial But this one, the green dial, is much harder to find. They made many fewer of them. So he said he was authenticating a watch, and it actually had an authentic Patek Philippe green dial. So everything about the watch was authentic, but the green dial was aftermarket. So that wasn't the way the watch was manufactured. So they pieced together authentic pieces. So good luck spotting the serial number on the back of the actual dial. And of course he did, and saved the guy, I don't know, probably 40% on that watch. So anyway, so call the guy up. I'm like, all right, man, let's meet at this one place. It's a guy I know, he authenticates watches, and we can do the deal there. And he's like, okay, no problem. And then I get a call from the guy who put me in touch with this guy, and he's like, hey, this guy says that you're wanting to change the plan and go to some other place. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, well, we're meeting somewhere, so I don't think it would matter where we're meeting. And it wasn't something I was like trying to pull a fast one on. I'm like, I got you. But that was a red flag, because why would he care, that we're meeting at this place? He knew it was an authentication place. I was like, these things aren't necessarily adding up, right? He's trying to press the timeline, and now he's upset that we're going to meet at this place. I was like, all right, whatever, it's still probably all good. So we get there, and I sit down with the guy, have a conversation, give the watch to the mad scientist who goes in the back. He's got this huge, big screen where he blows up like from the little pin camera, it blows everything up. And I'm sitting there talking to the guy, and I checked this guy out too. Like, I looked at his LinkedIn profile, legitimate guy. It wasn't like some guy who was he'd run this company for a long time. So everything was in line. Nothing felt weird except for the part about trying to kind of rush it done. And then at this point, in fact, he wasn't too pumped to go to the authenticator. We're actually coming up here on the wings of Dubai. Here, let me show you if I can flip this around. So this is called, that's not a very good shot, but those are called the wings of Dubai, where you'll see a line down the street of people that want to pose with that. And they get the good old Burj. So anyway, okay, so we're sitting there, and the guy goes back for about 15 minutes, comes out with the watch white as a ghost. He did not want to tell us what he was about to say about this watch. And he says, listen, the watch is completely authentic. Oh, I left out kind of an important part. The watch was being marketed as new and never unworn with stickers. And sometimes they just say that, like stickers, they came from the dealer and stuff. It's quite nonsense. But anyway, new and unworn. And so let's just say, for easy conversation's sake, the price was going to be $100, okay? And so comes out white as a ghost and says, listen, the watch, 100% authentic, no problem at all, but it did have a light brush polishing. And one of the things about the Royal Oak watch with an AP is the finishing is amazing. And one of the reasons I really like it is it's not very shiny. So it's called I'm not sure if you can see, it's called a brushed finishing. And so it doesn't shine as much as some of these other watches, which can be kind of loud. I mean, it depends on your look. There's a time and place for loud watches, but I kind of prefer something a little more subdued, because gold is a little bit more, flashy anyway. And so, and he says brush polish. So that may not seem like a big deal, but if you know watches, any polishing can significantly reduce the value of a watch, especially if a watch is being marketed as new. And so that's an awful sign, right? And so let me tell you why that is so surprising, because what these guys say within the watch industry is they all have the same song and dance, where they say, listen, man, you don't need to authenticate it because we're a tight-knit of community, and if anybody was ever caught selling a fake watch in to one of our dealers, their whole business would be done the next day. They'd be kicked out and ostracized, their business would be done, and nobody would risk it. But think about the logic behind that. What that means is if one watch slips in, nobody's gonna authenticate it because everybody has trust for the other person. So I was like, that's not a very good way to do things, especially because then this guy, his explanation for why he thought it hadn't been polished, he kind of started reeling. I said, this is not a new watch. I don't know what the backstory is, but it's been lightly polished. You market it as a new watch, so we just need to look at this as a new deal. I even told him, I was like, I'm not gonna make any guesses if you knew if it was polished or not. That doesn't matter at this point. All that's important is what's the price, and do you wanna sell it for the price I'm willing to pay for it? And so I went back and talked to my buddy, and I was like, what would be a really good deal on this watch? even if it was brushed. Because the thing is, when I buy watches, I'm not like a collector that puts them in a safe and is looking to sell them for appreciation. I do like to buy watches I think maybe would hold their value, but I wear them a ton, so it's gonna get beat up. So the fact that it was lightly brushed for me really wasn't a big deal, and I actually kind of saw it as an opportunity to get even a better deal than I possibly could before. So I said, listen, man, I totally understand, because, you know, all the watch dealers, I got 3 other guys that'll buy it today for the same price and whatnot. And so I said, listen, it's not worth that. It's not a new watch. Totally understand if you want to sell it to one of these other guys, but here's what it's worth for me. And he thought about it, called some guys, and was like, yep, we'll do the deal at that. So basically, being able to stay logical and offer a good price. First, yeah, I could have got mad and been like, oh, it's brushed, I can't believe you, I can't trust you. It doesn't really matter at that point, right? Do I trust him or not? It matters. I knew I had an authentic watch, and I thought it might be a good time to get a good price on that watch. And so the reason I tell this whole story is because there's so many different ways that these dealers try to convince you that there's no reason to authenticate the watch. There's no reason not to authenticate the watch. Even if you're 100% certain, you're 99% certain, if you're buying an expensive watch and you end up buying a fake one, that's gonna cost you. And also, there is a little peace of mind knowing for sure that the watch is new. That's actually something, I was talking to the Rolex dealer at the Dubai Mall, and I was like, you know, some of these pieces are selling for, 40% below retail. What's your argument on why you would buy from Rolex? And they always push, well, you know it's real, the experience, you can be 100% sure. And I kind of get that, because there is, even if you're 95% sure versus 100, it does feel a lot different. So I leave you with this. If you are buying a watch in the gray market, I don't care how much you trust a person, because it might be the trust between the person you trust and someone else, or it might be so far down the totem pole that someone snuck it in, or someone just didn't do their authentication right and they got duped. It happens all the time as these fakes get better and better. So always authenticate your watch. Do you have any stories like this? Have you ever seen a fake? You ever accidentally bought a fake? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to chat with you guys about it.